The forest canopy was a world of green and gold, bathed in the soft light of dawn. Dew glistened on the leaves, and the air was filled with the gentle symphony of waking birds. I was Sparrow, a young, observant bird, always alert to the subtle changes in our world. I loved the forest, its intricate network of branches and hidden nests, its sense of peaceful community. But lately, a shadow had fallen over our peaceful existence. It started with the arrival of Oliver, a new owl who settled in the tallest oak, his presence a constant, unsettling gaze. His flight was unnervingly silent, his eyes piercing and cold, following my every move. I tried to ignore it, to dismiss the unease that crept into my heart, but his presence was a constant weight, a silent predator, watching from the shadows. One morning as I preened my feathers, preparing for the day's flight, I noticed Oliver perched on a nearby branch, his gaze fixed on me. His eyes were like twin pools of yellow light, cold and intense, with a predatory gleam that sent shivers down my spine. I felt a prickle of fear, a sense of being observed, scrutinized, like a specimen under a microscope. I tried to fly away, to escape his gaze, but he followed, his silent wings carrying him effortlessly through the trees, maintaining a constant distance. It was like he was toying with me, letting me know he was always there, always watching. Later that day, I found strange, unsettling feathers near my nest. They were dark and oily, unlike any feathers I had ever seen before. They felt cold to the touch, and their presence filled me with a sense of dread. I looked up, and there he was, Oliver, perched on a nearby tree, his gaze unwavering, his eyes glowing like embers in the shadows. I knew then that these feathers were a message, a warning, a sign of his growing obsession. As night fell, the forest was shrouded in darkness, the familiar sounds of the day replaced by the eerie silence of the night. Oliver's eyes glowed eerily in the moonlight, like twin beacons in the darkness. I felt a sense of isolation, of being trapped in a world where I was the prey, and he was the hunter. I knew I had to tell someone, to seek help, but I was afraid of being dismissed, afraid of being alone. I went to Cardinal, the elder bird, wise and respected, hoping for guidance, for reassurance. I told them about Oliver, about his unsettling gaze, about the strange feathers, about the feeling of dread that settled in my stomach every time I saw him. Cardinal listened, their expression stern, their eyes filled with skepticism. "Sparrow," they said, their voice soothing, almost patronizing, "Oliver is a new member of our community. We need to make him feel welcome. I'm sure he means well. Sometimes young birds can misinterpret a friendly gesture. You're a sensitive bird, Sparrow. You have a vivid imagination. Try to relax, try to see the good in others." I left Cardinal feeling more alone than ever. They didn't believe me. No one would. I was just a young bird, and my fears were dismissed as flights of fancy. But I knew what I saw, what I felt. I knew something was wrong. That night, as I lay in my nest trying to sleep, I heard a scratching sound outside. I peeked out, and there he was, Oliver, standing on a branch, illuminated by the pale glow of the moon. But he wasn't alone. Behind him I saw a group of dark, silent crows, the shadows. Their eyes gleamed in the darkness, their forms flickering and shifting like smoke. They moved with a strange, jerky gait, like puppets on strings. They didn't speak, didn't make a sound, but their presence was terrifying. Oliver spoke, his voice a low, chilling hoot that echoed through the forest. "We've been watching you, little bird," he said, his voice a low, guttural growl. "We like to collect pretty things. You're very pretty, Sparrow." A faint, whispering sound filled the air, a chorus of sibilant sounds, like the rustling of dry leaves, the hissing of snakes, the clicking of insects. It was a sound that crawled under my skin, that made my blood run cold. I backed away from the nest, my body trembling, my breath catching in my throat. The shadows moved closer, their forms solidifying, their features becoming clearer. They were tall and thin, with elongated limbs and featureless faces. They were like living shadows, extensions of Oliver's darkness. I ran to my parents' nest, bursting through the entrance, my voice a frantic whisper. I told them about Oliver, about the shadows, about the whispering voices. They looked at me with disbelief, their eyes filled with concern. "Sparrow, dear," my mother said, her voice soft and soothing. "There's no one out there. You're having a nightmare. You're just a little stressed. We'll talk about this in the morning." I looked out the nest entrance. Oliver was gone, but the shadows were perched on the highest branches, their forms barely visible in the darkness. I knew they were there. I knew they were watching. And I knew they were coming for me. The scratching on the trees around the nest intensified, growing louder, more urgent. Oliver flew closer, his eyes glowing intensely, like twin orbs of malevolent light. I screamed, a high-pitched, terrified chirp that echoed through the forest. But the sound was lost in the cacophony of scratching talons and whispering voices. I knew I had to escape, to flee, to find sanctuary in the depths of the forest. I fled the nest, flying through the dark, tangled branches, my heart pounding in my chest. Oliver and the shadows pursued, their forms silhouetted against the moonlit sky. I flew through a dense thicket, trying to lose them, but Oliver's eyes pierced the darkness, and he gained on me. I disappeared into the deep forest, leaving Oliver and the shadows behind. But I knew they were still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for me. Even now, I feel their presence, a constant, chilling reminder of the feathered watcher, the collector of pretty things. The forest is no longer a place of peace, but a place of fear, a place where the shadows whisper, and the eyes of the hunter never close. Even the softest rustle of leaves, or the distant hoot of an owl, sends a shiver down my spine. And I wonder how many other birds are out there, trapped in the gaze of the feathered watcher, waiting for the shadows to claim them.